Here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Vytal's Gen Z School and Snacking webinar. I'm going to go over, my name is Matana. I am one of the co-founders of Vytal, and I am joined with Natalie, my other co-founder at Vytal. She will be leading this very engaging conversation today. This webinar is brought to you also with our partners at Ingredient, with strategic thinking and beautiful creative. Ingredient forges meaningful connections with consumers everywhere they buy, cook, and enjoy food. And Vytal is focused on Gen Z insights and actions. We have for you an amazing panelist of 4 market maven Gen Zers. I'm going to introduce each one of them to you in a minute. A little bit more housekeeping. If some of you have maybe not attended a Zoom webinar before, if you take your mouse and go to the bottom under Q&A, you could pop that in as we're going through the discussion and the conversation. Please feel free to add any questions in that chat box. And we've saved time at the end for the last 10, 15 minutes or so to go over any questions that the audience has. Okay, so I'm going to start with Emma. Emma is a junior in college, and right now she's studying abroad in the UK. So that's fun. And each panelist is going to share my icebreaker question. If you were stranded on a deserted island and you had one snack to eat for the year, what would yours be and why, Emma?
Definitely hot Cheetos because I love spicy snacks and I love chips. Definitely hot Cheetos.
Nice. Okay, next up, Josh. Josh is a photographer and also a student. Josh, what is your answer for this 1 year of one snack?
I think I'm gonna have to go with the purple bag of Doritos.
The purple what?
The purple bag of Doritos.
Okay, and why?
Honestly, because I like baked goods and sweets and stuff like that, but I don't think I could make that the only thing that I eat. And I feel like with tortilla chips such as Doritos, there's a lot of stuff that I could do with it. Like I can make meals out of that, and I could use it for a snack. So
Nice. Okay, next up we have Danny. Danny is a teacher of art in elementary school. Danny, what's your answer for your 1 year of one snack?
Immediately I thought granola bar because it has sugar, saltiness, and like protein, and I'll be stranded on an island, so I need that protein.
Thank you. And last but not least, T's a community organizer and a content creator. T, what's your answer?
When you said granola bar, my mind jumped to trail mix, but that's too easy. That's logical. For me personally, peach rings all day.
Oh, peach rings. All right, we went for the sweet. And this webinar actually comes very timely. Natalie and I just came back from last week being at the National Association of Convenience Stores, and we got in Las Vegas, and we got to see all the snacks, all the new and upcoming snacks. So that was pretty fun. All right, Natalie, take it away.
You're not going to tell us yours, Em? I know what it is. The chewy Tic Tacs.
Oh yeah. Hey y'all. This is what my screen is like blurred. This is what I discovered at the convenience store show last week. Natalie thinks it's gross. I really like it. Like chewy Tic Tac. Well, what's your answer, Natalie?
You know, I actually want dried mango slices. That's what I would want. But then I was thinking, do I really want something dehydrated on an island where I'm stranded? So I was like, I should just get some cucumbers or something.
Well, that doesn't, like, cucumbers is a vegetable. That's not a snack. All right, get into it, Nat.
Cool, thanks. All right, so hi everyone in the audience. Thank you for joining us today. So we have a really fun webinar for you. I'm going to take you through kind of, for those who are unfamiliar with us, how we run the webinars, what kind of preparation we do, how we assemble the information we're sharing with you today, and the agenda. And so how these webinars run is we assemble a panel, as you've just seen, of really awesome, influential Gen Zers. And we do a preparation session and work around their thoughts, feelings, behaviors, experiences around the topic. So for this instance, snacking is what we prepared for. So we have a lot of interesting tidbits, and then we pull out what we feel is the most interesting, insightful elements that maybe aren't so commonly held or understood. You can't just Google and read online. So we try and make it a bit more actionable and impactful for you guys. And we also leave a lot of space for the panelists to speak for themselves. So what we'll do is we'll go through the introduction, which Matana just shared. Then we'll go through the 3 kind of key insights. One is snack care is self-care, then personality without personification, snacking considerations were some recommendations and kind of strong key pointers that the panel wanted to share with you. After each of these insights, we'll ask a question to the panel, and that will take up a large portion of the time frame. And then we'll leave 10 to 15 minutes at close for your guys' questions. So if you hear something, you want to follow up on it, please feel free to ask in the chat. So ask your Q&A question. We'll save all of the questions that you share with us till the end. And I'll jump into our first insight that we gleaned from the panelists here, which is that snack care is self-care. And this was something really interesting for us because what we see in our research consistently is this very health conscious focus. I think the whole world is becoming more health conscious and aware. And there's also a lot of media. If you'll read any kind of news around snacking or CPG, it's all about Gen Z and health, Gen Z wanting healthier ingredients, functional elements. And what we found in this specific instance is that actually Gen Z is not super considerate of health when it comes to their snacking needs. And so we found this was a really interesting insight to share with you and get more information from themselves. And Emma says, now that I'm an adult, if I want to eat hot Cheetos at 3 in the morning, like I can do that. I think that's also a sensory thing. You can suck on them for a while and that kind of helps you slow down. So this kind of element of the sensory, emotional drive, really around this self-care, self-allowance, and not really seeking, you know, a really huge health push. And they also shared with us that where they focus on health with eating is their meals. And they consider snacking something very divergent from that. So a bit of a different perspective than what we've seen largely in the media. So we have 3 supporting points that we thought were important to share with you guys. And that's this idea that I just shared of sensory emotional snacking. So nutrition labels aren't really that important in terms of how our panelists are making decisions. There's a much stronger connection between those snacks and emotional states that they're looking for, or some sensory experience, which is very interesting. In the next slide, we'll share more a bit about kind of what that sensory experience is, and how chewing and that tactile element really also supports a lot of the stress that Gen Z is experiencing right now. Self-care in a bag, not a bottle. So snacking is really this self-allowance for indulgence, separate from health-focused meals, even for Gen Z who are typically considered wellness warriors. And there is some price sensitivity in terms of how they consider snacking. So they're pretty price conscious. They'll spend around $5 to $20 per week on snacks, but they are willing to pay more for specific things. And T, you mentioned that, you know, limited edition is something for you that would have increased your budget in that time frame. T had Hot Cheetos Carolina Reaper limited edition flavor. And then he said that they actually discontinued it. And that was super difficult for him because he really wanted to buy the entire inventory at that point, which is surprising for him because he normally doesn't actually use limited edition or seasonal kind of items. So we have a question for the panel, and that is, what do you love most about snacks? How do you make decisions about what snacks to buy? And T, because I singled you out for your coat, we can start with you.
Okay, how's it going? Yeah, I mean, I feel like what I love about snacks is they're just so, it's a little quick, easy, little grab and go, you know what I'm saying? Keep moving. It's like a reward low key. I feel like if I don't got time to like meal prep or whatever and like stand over the stove for like 3 hours, you know, I can grab me a little snack. It's crunchy, so it tingles in my brain a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Snacking is great. Snacking is great.
And how do you make decisions about what snacks to buy? Like, what's the last snack you
Mm.
bought and how did you choose that snack?
The last snack I actually bought that was like actually like new, you know, was one of those little freeze dried Skittles things that we have on like the TikTok shop. But I don't rock a TikTok shop, so I was avoiding it on purpose. But when I saw it at my local store, I was like, okay, I mean, if it's here, like if it's local, because I feel like a lot of new snacks, they'd be like, I gotta drive to Pavilions, and I don't live near one. I live in the hood, so that's a little stretch for me. But yeah, I was like, it was right here. I might as well just grab it and try it for myself.
Okay, so you heard about the snack on TikTok Shop, which was the freeze-dried Skittles. And
Yeah.
you weren't gonna go out of your way to buy it, but you saw it in your convenience store. Tell us about that experience. How did you feel about the Skittles? What made you want to try it based on the TikTok Shop? And even though you don't really listen to TikTok Shop.
It was cool. I mean, I like Skittles. I like Skittles a lot, actually. I had a phase, I was buying a pack each day, which is crazy, I know. But so when I saw their like freeze dried, I was like, they're kind of bigger. And I was like, I might pick these up. But what actually bothered me was the texture of them. They're too like it's like biting into like flavored like styrofoam. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just stick with the originals because I mean it's cool, but I like home, so
Thanks, T. What about you, Emma? What do you love most about snacks? How do you make decisions what to buy?
I love the diversity of snacks. If I'm craving something, it's really easy for me to go get a sweet snack if I want like a chocolate bar, or if I really want chips, I can go and get chips, or I can get both if I want both. I feel like that happens to me a lot where I'm like, I can't decide, I'm just gonna get both. And then I think where I find snacks a lot of the times it is convenience, things like convenience stores, gas stations is always good if I'm filling up my car and then I go and I'm like, I'm a little hungry. And then I leave with like 6 bags of chips and like a drink. Um, but yeah, I would definitely say it's more of like a local grocery store type of thing more than like purchasing things online.
Do you ever go into a store thinking, I want to get this particular snack, or is it more of a browsing situation?
For me, it's mostly I want a spicy snack or I want a sweet snack, and then I like zone in on that. It's less about the specific, I want this specific thing.
And in your 6 bags of chips, what kind of chips? I know one is pickle, if you can find it.
Yeah, the pickle chips, the hot Cheetos. I like salt and vinegar chips sometimes, but you have to be in the mood for them. Any kind of spicy flavor, honestly. Like I love jalapeno chips. Those are really good. And
I'm
then
curious, do any of you guys eat like jerky? Like jerky style things, leathers, jerkies?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can go out, but not so much anymore.
I
Josh,
love
Okay.
jerky.
Josh, you're gonna have to speak up when you talk.
Sorry, I said I used to eat it a lot, but not so much anymore.
Cool. Danny, you were gonna share something?
Yeah, I love beef jerky. They have like at Buc-ee's, they have like a whole wall of different flavors of beef jerky, and I like eventually want to try each flavor because I'm a huge fan of beef jerky.
Thanks, Danny. And while we have you, Danny, what do you love most about snacks and how do you make decisions about what snacks to buy?
I agree with Emma. I like the diversity of snacks. I like that new flavors come out every single year, especially like during different holiday seasons. I love a good Valentine's Day snack. And how I make my decisions is a lot based on like packaging. I do fall for like really pretty stuff in the store. I guess because it like kind of stands out against like the rest of the monotonous snacks I've already seen, I guess. I do like when the snacks are also like cheaper than like going out to get a bunch of groceries, but I mean buying a ton of snacks also can like add up. So I try to get maybe like 2 snacks a week that will last me the whole week. So I get like granola bars mainly because they're easy, quick. You can usually put them in your backpack and stuff.
So Danny, you talked about price. How do you consider price when you're shopping? Like how much would you spend on snacks in like a single trip or in a week?
Um, I would prefer to keep it under $20 because like $20 of just snacks is actually like kind of a crazy amount of money to spend on snacks because you also have to buy like main food groups. But yeah, like $15 to $20 like for an entire week where I'm getting like two big snacks, or like a bunch of small ones is like a good price range.
So that's interesting. When you talk about the big versus the small, how do you think about price when it comes to like the size of a snack? What makes you think, oh, I'd spend more on this or I would spend less on this?
It definitely depends on like how many come in a pack. Like I'm not gonna spend $4.99 on one bag of chips because that just seems like so much. It's $5 for one bag of chips, and usually a bag of chips is never full. Um, but I would spend $4.99 on like a box with 10 or 12 in a pack, or even 6 in a pack. I'd be like satisfied with that because I'm like, okay, I'm getting 6 for this price, so seems worth it to me.
Cool. Thanks, Danny. What about you, Josh? What do you love most about snacks and how do you make decisions about what snacks to buy?
Um, when it comes to snacks, I really like the versatility of them. Kind of like they're saying the diversity, but from my standpoint, I like that I can use them to replace meals, use them between meals, but I also like that. All right, like I can grab and go snack like a Pop Tart or something, but at the same time, if I really want to put time and effort into it, I can make nice like buffalo chicken dip. You know what I mean? So I just think there's so much room to, I don't know, experiment, fill yourself, but also just treat yourself, whichever you're in the mood for.
And what kind of snacks do you buy? Like, what's the last snack trip that you had and what did you buy?
Actually, yesterday I went to the gas station and I got what's it called? Zebra cake, a little Debbie zebra cake. But yeah, I mainly buy like sweets, baked goods, chips, stuff like that. But I don't know. The main food that I eat, period, is fruit. So really just stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So let's say the last package thing you purchased at the gas station, what would that have been?
A zebra cake.
A zebra cake. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
All right, so I'm going to move on. I see some questions rolling in. I want to be sure we have time to get to all of your guys' Q&As at the end. So I'm going to kind of pick up the speed a bit to get through these insights so we can give you guys ample time with questions with the panelists. So our second insight that we gleaned from our wonderful panelists is this idea of personality without personification. And T has a really fun, we can always count on T for a good soundbite. T said, it's like, why are you acting human in these replies? This is scary. Like I'm looking for comments under a viral video to see what everyone's saying. And Google is like, this had me in tears. No, it didn't. You're Google. And I feel the same way about snack companies. Nice, thanks, T. And this is kind of around this idea of where is that? And I see there's a question also in the chat about, like, for instance, Nutter Butter and their marketing on TikTok. And so this is kind of an insight around how far is too far, what's actually meaningful, what kind of relationship are the panelists looking for from snack brands, and what are their shared challenges with how branding is done, and then what are their shared goals. And so we can go to the next slide. And so kind of the 3 support elements we have for this and what the panelists shared with us is this idea of they actually really like brand characters. And if you notice in T's quote, he shared, Google is making this kind of very humanized, personified statement, and he's like, well, you're actually a search engine. You're not even a character, you're not a personality, like you're not feeling anything. And so there was this idea, TIC, we're gonna definitely jump to you first. And there's this shared perspective that when you're gonna personify something, there really should be a character, some kind of element or personality that is attached to a character, not just a kind of faceless brand, a general corporation that really doesn't connect with our audience. There's a lot of criticism that they share of excessive personification, and they're really like, okay, why is Why are brands commenting under viral videos or things that aren't even relevant to their product category or the themes that they should be speaking to? They're like, we want you to stay in your lane, and they're going to share with you what they think that lane is. And this social media discovery dissonance. And so panelists do discover snacks through social media, especially TikTok. That's like a huge element. But you've heard T, and you'll hear some of the other panelists talk about TikTok Shop and the really massive brand relationships and collaborations that are happening through TikTok Shop, and how a lot of that is failing, why it's failing, and what they think brands should be doing differently. And Josh, you said that you miss when brands had like personalities and characters they would attach to their items to make them more, you wouldn't say humanize, but make them more authentic to that brand. And we have a photo of Wendy's here because all the panelists agree that Wendy's was the start of the downfall of brands taking it too far on social media. So T, I'm going to start with you. I'd love to hear more about your perspective around what brands should be doing in terms of personality being too much. What makes a good snack brand to you?
Yeah, every time I think of Wendy's, I think about the Oppenheimer gift when like he realized what he done. Because I feel like it started from Wendy's in like 2016, 2017. It was cool. It came around like a little snapback trend around Thanksgiving. And it was fun because it was like, okay, we're getting roasted by Wendy's, but also like I can see Wendy. Like I'm looking at Wendy. Now, when I go to a comments section on TikTok and it's all these, the first thing is just verified brands, just logos, no faces, just logos being like, this is funny. Oh my God, girl, you ate. And I'm like, whoa, like you're not a person. Like I get like you're trying to get like, the publicity and like you want the attention to your name. It's like at least give me something I can believe is a human. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like it's stuff like that. So like, yeah, just it's too far. Like when I see a brand coming under my post being like, we need more of this, and I'm like, I don't like what you're doing right now. It feels like that one cousin you got who like you love, but he keeps asking you for money, and you're just like, champ, you gotta relax. We're not doing this right now. Okay, let's talk a little bit first before we get into the money. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of like a create a personality that you can personify, and I'm way more receptive to believing that and engaging with that and shopping with that.
Thanks for that, T. And Josh, you mentioned in some of the prep around like M&Ms, and you're like, okay, M&Ms has, and you love M&Ms. So for the audience, Josh is a huge fan of M&Ms. He really loved the characters, but you're saying, okay, M&Ms you feel like they're losing a huge opportunity because their characters are the individual M&Ms, not M&M as a whole. And yet their social media is still M&M kind of as a whole, and you don't see a lot of, kind of marketing that's based on just the characters, or maybe people being able to follow only the characters. So can you speak to, where's the line between personality and being too much for a snack brand, and what makes a good brand to you, Josh?
Well, first and foremost, I think the line is very, I guess I'll say thin, just because it's not always easy to tell when you're crossing it. But I think the main way to tell is if it's authentic to you. Like, for examples, talking about Wendy's and everything, them doing what they did, it felt authentic to them, because even though you probably have seen like a customer service or whatever social media manager on branding pages acting like a normal person, you've probably seen it before, but Wendy's was just the most memorable, but also it felt like some sort of culture shift within branding. But then also with that, oh yeah, but then switching back to M&Ms, it's kind of like, all right, people align with not just M&M's as a brand, but the personalities of M&M's. One of the reasons that I personally like it is because, I see that this isn't just for one type of person. It can be anybody in a family that likes M&M's. It can be anybody in a family, anybody in a friend group that resonates with one of the characters, however you see it. And I think instead of brands, trying to say, oh, like you said, oh, we're Google.
Josh, you're breaking up.
For them, to the point where it would make more sense for them to be under. Oh, am I still breaking up?
You're going in and out. Can you repeat the part you were talking about Google, I think? You had brought up Google and then you broke out.
Yeah, just saying that, like T was saying, Google, it doesn't make sense for them to be under a whole lot of people's comments and stuff. But with a brand like M&M's, if they had individual personalities or individual Instagrams for these individual personalities, it would make a bit more sense for personalities to be under content that resonates with that personality, therefore bring more people to the brand. But yeah, that's just my perspective on that.
So it feels like brands are kind of taking too much of a broad approach, a little
Yeah, like
lackadaisical.
because like he was saying, you'll see a company like Google under the most random videos that don't have anything to do with search engines. It won't even have anything to do with the internet, period. But Google is there. But that's, uh, I don't know, Eminem's commenting under some high schoolers TikTok video about Spirit Week where they all had to bring their favorite candy or whatever. That would make more sense for some reason. I don't know, but just finding content that actually resonates with you and interacting with that instead of just interacting with what's viral, because it's not authentic and we can tell that you're just trying to farm interaction by saying, oh, hey, we are whatever random brand with verification check next to us in the comments, laugh at us, laugh with us, you know?
So you use the term farming, which is very interesting. And I guess I'd like to hear from you as well, Emma, in terms of where do you feel the line is between personality and being too much? What makes a good snack brand to you? And do you also see and feel this element of brands farming? And what does that feel like?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is what Josh was saying. It is this fine line. And I think the line is hard to cross when you're not a part of our generation because it almost seems like a thing that we all understand. And then everyone who's not in our generation is like, what do you mean? This is funny. But if a 40-year-old man is writing a joke that they think is relatable to us, it's probably not going to be. So I think it's also that kind of balance of maybe we should hire some people who actually understand what the jokes are instead of just trying to replicate what they think is going to sell.
Mm-hmm. And what makes a good snack brand to you? Like, have you seen a good brand on social media you think is doing something really well? A snack brand you think is doing really well?
I not necessarily a snack brand, but something that I kind of enjoy and something that works for me. When I'm driving on the freeway, sometimes I see the Chick-fil-A posters and it's just the cows and it's like them pretending to like paint and it says like eat more chicken and chicken is spelled wrong and like they're just like cute and it's not too much where it's like come on like come to our restaurant. It's like they're not doing too much and I think that's something that we talked about a lot in our last little practice session is if you're doing too much, we can tell when you're trying too hard, we can tell when it's inauthentic. So I think just having that fine line between something that's going to represent your brand well but is not going to shove it down our throats.
Thanks, Emma. And what you're bringing up also is kind of that character element, right? Because you're talking about the cows as the face of, Chick-fil-A and their personalities. T, you have your hand up, and then I'm going to ask you, Danny, what your thoughts are.
And to bandwagon, like that's the character aspect I was mentioning. Like, I like them cows. They some cool peoples. I saw the commercials. They're sweet. But to give credit to like specific snack brands, I think a couple years back, Planters had a whole like rebrand, with like their mascot. I think he's like called like Mr. Nut or whatever, right? And that was super fun. They created a bunch of like large scale engaging events that people were attracted to, and it was way more easier to get into because it wasn't just like peanuts, planters. It was the guy. It was the dude. I've seen him before with the little monocle and the top hat. Love that dude. Same thing with Slim Jim. They don't have a person per se, but the way they interact with memes online and meme culture so like effortlessly, they got a whole community called the Long Boys, and people love that. They're liking every single post and commenting, "Long Boy Gang stand up." And I think it's best, like Emma was saying, when you have someone closer to our age engaging with the social platforms versus like again some 40-year-old dude in Akron, Ohio, middle of nowhere, just being like what's up, fellow kids? Like whatever, bro. I'm not listening. You know what I mean? So yeah.
What's up, fellow kids? Okay, cool. Josh, I'm gonna get to you after I ask Danny her question. So Danny, for you, where's the line between personality and being too much? And what makes a good snack brand to you?
What makes a good snack brand to me is when they just stay true to themselves. I'll use Skittles as an example. Those commercials are funny. They're good. I feel like they don't try to like follow any social media trends. They just like they're in on the joke and they understand the joke, and I feel like they're just like appealing to a broader audience. They're just like, we sell a candy, like how serious can we be? And so they make these hilarious and like ridiculous things that like anybody of all ages would find ridiculous, which I think is like refreshing, because sometimes I agree with everybody else. Like I feel like it is like some 40-year-old guy being like, "Hi guys, I'm a kid too." And it's like, or and like it's like, well, no, you're not, because you're so like just far removed from like everything that we're going through as like early adults, and you're not understanding the joke because you're not actually like investing time into being part of like the social media culture. You're just kind of like maybe watching a bunch of reels of like what you think a trend is and then like trying to join in, but you don't actually know. And I feel like you don't have to do that. Like a snack brand might not need to like hire, I mean, they should, but like if they don't have the means to hire like younger people, or they want to keep their team, they should at least just like make it a point to not follow trends they don't know anything about, and they could just appeal to a wider audience, kind of like how Skittles does, where they're just like ridiculous, and that's fine with them.
Thanks, Danny. Josh, you had your hand up, so I want to hear what you have to say before we move to the next insight.
Gotcha. This was kind of to piggyback off of what T was saying, and it doesn't really have, it's not like snack specific, more so just like branding and social interaction that I know. One of the best like brands or sites, however you want to describe it, that I've seen interact in a really authentic and engaging way is, if anybody remembers Cool Math Games. Like I used to play that like on that site all the time as a kid in school and everything. And like seeing them like they're in connections and like host underground like rap and art shows with like these kids from Atlanta and stuff like that. And being able to do stuff like that as a math game website is amazing, because even though it doesn't have anything to do with math half the time, it still feels authentic to their brand because they're not trying to overstep. They're just trying to support a community, the same community that came up playing their games in school. You know what I mean?
That's a great example. Thanks for that addition, Josh. All right, so I see a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to try and close out these insights in the next 5 minutes, so we have ample time, about 20 minutes or so, to look at the Q&As. So we have snacking considerations. This is kind of an amalgamation of some of the things that we thought were really interesting for the audience to consider around snacking. And T, you say that you think people love personality, and that's what matters most. I'm going to pretend you're human if I can see your face, just mainly. So really this idea of that element of personality, stepping into the correct lane with your personality, as Danny mentioned, coming from an authentic place of a lived experience of something that reflects that personality. So we can jump to the next slide, Em. So here are a couple things that we heard from the panelists that we wanted to share with you. So this idea of snackification of the day, you probably heard this a bit. I think, I don't know if it was you who mentioned or someone mentioned that sometimes, you're not looking to make an entire meal. I think Gen Z is highly stressed for time as well, right? It has a lot of considerations, and snacking is a bit more important in this high speed, kind of high stress, low time environment. And what we heard was that really there's this not as much traditional eating patterns. Yes, they focus on full meals, healthy meals, health conscious meals, but really there's a lot more snacking, more frequent snacking, and larger kind of way snacking inhabits their day than previous generations. And so creating those characters and those moments that can connect to this concept of this full day experience will be very important. Better for you is not better for business. So we heard this a bit in the beginning, but this idea that health conscious, a lot of brands are really focusing on health consciousness, and we're kind of taking a pause to say, well, what exactly, to, you know, Danny's point, for instance, what exactly is the context of this? Like, are brands really understanding what is important to Gen Z in terms of health? Where are they willing to forego health? Where is it not important? Where do they not feel that eating an unhealthy snack is actually healthy still in the whole spectrum of what they eat in a given day? And so what we're hearing from our panelists is, yes, we're healthy. Yes, we're health conscious. Yes, we are a more healthy generation, everything from mental health to physical health to emotional health. But at the same time, part of health for us is self-care and self-indulgence and self-allowance. And so, you know, we don't want to be judged or positioned as, oh, you know, just give me, I forgot who it was that said, maybe in the prep work, that like, oh, you know, when snacks feel a bit too healthy or something that seems a bit too functional, it's not exciting anymore. It's like, this isn't really a snack. And so really embracing this duality, which may seem like a contradiction, which I think a lot of audience members we've spoken to do feel Gen Z is contradictory, but they don't feel that way. They feel audiences are just missing the necessary context for why it seems like a contradiction to the outside world, but inside they understand it perfectly. Actually, this is still healthy. I can eat a whole bag of hot Cheetos and I'm still within my health range. And what I'm getting from this enjoyment, this happiness, you know, these chemicals that are flowing through my body of endorphins and dopamine, all of that is a part of my health journey. Like, I need time to decompress. So better for you is not always better for business. And texture is the new ASMR. So there's some questions here that we'll get to as well. But this idea around texture and crunchiness and chewiness, which has actually scientifically been proven, I'm sure many of you in the audience know, to reduce stress. And we've heard from the panelists how, you know, I'm sucking on something, it helps me slow down, it helps me kind of take a bit more of a moment kind of element. I like the crunch, I like the chew, I like this kind of tactile element. I'm a teeth grinder, so obviously physically my body is having some kind of stress relief through my TMJ, but snacking is very similar as well. And so with a high incidence of stress and just emotional considerations, economic considerations that Gen Z has, we are seeing a higher influx of this idea of this tactile nature of chewy, textures. I think you heard everyone share about how they do also do jerkies and leathers. And so here at Vytal, we're looking at the research and we're questioning, well, how much of that can also be related to other larger systems that are in place in Gen Z's life? And then we have just a little category here from the Food Institute around the most dramatic leaps in popularity for young consumers, particularly Gen Z, are fruit, chewy candy, and meat snacks. So leathers, jerkies, things like that. We can go to this final question before we jump into all of your guys' questions. So can you share with the audience, guys, what's the number one thing you want snack brands to know to win with your generation? Josh, your video's up, so we can start with you if you have something.
Well, my number one thing outside of personification that we were talking about earlier would be being authentic to yourselves. Like we talked about with the example that I said with pool math games, the example that we were talking about with M&Ms, even this isn't a snack brand, but just a brand in general. Kia with the Kia Soul and the hamsters. Once again, I think that was just a great example of giving somebody something to attach your product, your brand to, even if it's not something that they necessarily want. Like, for example, I've never desired a Kia Soul, but I would drive one based off of those commercials from my childhood. But also on top of that, availability and accessibility, like T was saying, you know, everybody doesn't live near Trader Joe's. Everybody doesn't live in these areas where you can get these different type of snacks. Maybe you should put some in the corner stores. Maybe you should put some in bodegas. All, you know what I mean? Like everywhere that you can, to the point where it's not just you. Everybody can try it on their own time and dime, instead of saying, "Oh, I need to order these from TikTok because I saw some branded ad from a 16-year-old who's trying to get paid." You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest, just being authentic to yourself, and then also not being afraid of honest shit. You know what I mean? If people think that, oh, the freeze dried Skittles suck, that's their right, and you can take that criticism and try to figure out how to develop a better product. That's the entire point of criticism. But yeah.
Thanks for that, Josh. That's a good point. You bring up two good points, and something I want to share with the audience to bring in something from the prep is, I think it was UT that brought up this example of, or maybe it was you, Josh, I don't remember, but someone brought up an example of a candy bar that Mr. Beast had done, like a chocolate
Them
bar.
Feastables. Yeah,
Yeah,
them Feastables. So like,
can you share
it's
that
just,
story about that criticism and how that brand handled that criticism well?
yeah. So we all know like Keith Lee, the TikToker, he tries food and gives an honest opinion. Mr. Beast paid him to be honest, and he was like, "Look, I'm gonna be honest. This chocolate about a 6. This is not green." Uh, and Mr. Beast took that and he was like, "Okay, well, I guess that's time for me to listen to people and be like, what can I change?" And once he changed the ingredients and like everything, like the flavor and stuff, people were flocking the shelves for them bars. And all it takes is a one little like, all right, what am I doing wrong? Be real with me. Because I see a lot of companies, no names, maybe hiding like reviews and stuff because like they get bad reviews, and I'm just like, you got to take it on the chin. Like you can't just like hide behind all your good reviews. Like, look, we got this, but it's like, sure, you have 2,000 good reviews, but I also see the extra 1,000 bad reviews as well. Like something's got to change. Um, and to piggyback off of what Josh said earlier, yeah, I mean availability is great. Like again, I'm redlined. There's no pavilions near me, no Vons, no Trader Joe's. It's nice seeing new flavors of snacks in my neighborhood. It's I feel like if I have to go to Culver City to try a new snack, I find that crazy. I'm over here. I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that, T. That's really helpful. And I think both T and Josh, you guys are touching on something really important. This idea of, I think authenticity is a word that's thrown around a lot. It's a very overused word in our industry right now, but it's still super important, and it's important for people to really understand what that means. And so what I'm hearing and what you've shared with us is, authenticity is really just being completely true to what is happening. So for instance, if we don't like your snack, don't hide our comments. Don't, like, I think people think authenticity is relevance. And we want to share with the audience that it's different than that. And so authenticity for this audience, if what you're hearing is, Josh is saying, I don't even really want a Kia Soul, but because I loved the connection that those characters, those hamsters had with me at that time frame, I have that emotional connection. I know the audience is very familiar with brand love and all these kinds of emotional drivers. That's really a key element of Gen Z, and Gen Z's emotional driver is really tied to authentic expression. So how honest are you? How transparent are you? How real are you? Because they're all going through things that are both positive and negative, and they know brands, companies, snacks as well participate in the reality of life, the highs and lows. And when you're trying to conceal any element of what you go through as a brand, as a product, it's not really meaningful for them. They don't just want a finished thing. They want to really see the full scope of it. Oh, hey, I made a mistake. This chocolate bar sucked. Okay, I'm gonna redo it. And I'm gonna show you that I'm kind of sad and disappointed that you didn't like it, but I'm gonna redo it and I'm gonna respect that. So Emma and Danny, I'd like your guys' thoughts too, really quickly, and then we're gonna jump for the last 13 minutes for this Q&A. So what's the number one thing you want snack brands to know to win with Gen Z?
I think everything that Josh and T said was what I was going to say. I agree about just staying true to your brand, and I think not overdoing it, I think is something that I think is very important. You don't have to do a lot to sell a product. I mean, obviously you do. I don't know. I don't sell products, but you don't have to make it a giant production in order for us to pay attention. And I think that is something that a lot of brands forget. I think if you're doing a commercial about a candy bar, you don't have to have this random guy like skydiving to like catch the candy bar. Like it's not, I mean, you can, that could be a cool commercial, but I don't know how like relatable it is to everyday life. And I think especially our generation really likes relatability, but relatability that's authentic. So
Thanks for that, Emma. And that brings up for me, and those of you in the audience, if you're aware of the really big popularity of these transition viral moments where people are using like interesting videos. Let's say someone's falling on a skateboard, and then before they hit the ground, it transitions into another video. And usually it is a small business in a third world country that is killing the game with marketing with these transition videos, because they've understood the element of social media marketing and the relatability that Emma's speaking about. So I think that's a good example for everyone in the audience to kind of ponder on a bit. And Danny, what about you? What's the number one thing you want snack brands to know to win with Gen Z?
I mean, just have confidence in your product. You know, if you're doing all of these gimmicks, these marketing gimmicks, and then your product is bad and you're not changing it, you're just like keeping the train going, that doesn't really work for me, because then I'm never going to buy it again. But if I saw like on social media, like we changed our flavor, like it's way better now, try it out, like that would be, I would be excited. I'd be like, okay, I'll try you again. This is nothing to do with snacks, but like Dawn dish soap just recently changed their scent, and it's like way better now. It's like apple, it's fresh, it doesn't smell like it's not like super strong clinical soap smell anymore. And like that change like was so groundbreaking for them. Like now I buy that soap more often, because and it's like the cheapest price for soap usually. So it's like cool that they like, I do like enjoying seeing the like journey of them changing their products and like growing and being confident enough to be like, yeah, we didn't do a good job, but we are willing to change and we're willing to grow along with you. And we do care about your input.
Got it. So there's something endearing about seeing changes that an audience has desired or communicated, and just seeing the brand have that two-way communication with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's like personification. Like a person grows, like you like to watch things grow, develop, change, get better. And if, you know, a brand is like putting on a face and they're answering things on social media, like that's, and they're doing a good job with that, like they should still have that whole idea, I guess, behind like all their other processes. Like we're willing to change, we're growing. It is endearing for sure.
Nice. Thanks, Danny. So thank you guys so much. We're going to jump into the Q&A. We have a lot of questions, so I'm not going to be able to call on every single person. But if you really want to answer a question, please just start speaking. If not, I'll call on everyone. And I'll start with our question. So Anonymous asks, have you found more data on snack flavors such as sweet and savory? Is there a spectrum of tastes that seem to resonate? So there is data on this, and what we found is that Gen Z does have a much sweeter tooth than previous generations. Their salt and savory is pretty comparable to other generations, but their sweet tooth is a little more excessive. And I'm curious also about why that is. I know that in our panelists, they've spoken about really liking sweet and chewy things, also liking salty and spicy. Spicy is also a bit more popular in Gen Z. I'm assuming that's also because the multicultural element, because a lot of cultures use a lot of spice, and as the cultural, generation kind of grows, I think spice is going to grow as well. But I'd like to hear from you guys. Do you guys have a spectrum of taste that resonate most with you? Do you feel that you guys like sweet things more than salty things, or what's your taste preference?
Sweet is like
Yeah.
instant dopamine. Like sweet is like, and I think like that's what Gen Z is kind of about. Like vapes came out like when we were all like 18, like, you know, Juuls and all that, and they became really flavorful. So like, and then people later on, like 10 years later, like I need to quit this, but like flavor and like this dopamine hit that you get immediately from sugar is probably the reason why Gen Z has like so much more of a sweet tooth, because we are a more stressed out generation, and like what combats stress is dopamine.
Nice. Thanks, Danny. T, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I feel like I'm more of like a saltier snack person, but there's just something about like a little sweet treat. It's like a reward. I keep saying that. It's like a reward. And no matter what, if I'm bloated, I just have me a rib tip dinner, and someone's like, well, we got some cake. I'm like, you got me. I'll take a little slice to go. At least to go. Like I'll have room for that, but I can't make more room for more salt. You know what I mean?
Nice. Thanks, T. Does anyone else want to share about their taste preference? And I'm going to jump to the next question.
I 100% agree with that statement and the data. I just think that sweets, there's so much room for them. But on top of that, like, since it's something that you're not necessarily eating just to fill yourself, you're eating it for the taste. you can push yourself to want more of that, but also it's just much more of a treat rather than like I'd rather have a bag of chips to cap off the day, or I'd rather have like a piece of cake to cap off the day rather than a bag of chips. You know what I mean?
I do. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for that distinction. Okay, so our next question is, did the unhinged marketing of Nutter Butter on TikTok influence anyone to buy Nutter Butter?
No,
Okay,
no,
It's not
that
okay. I'm sorry. It just
listen. Go ahead, Josh.
like, all right, I see what they're trying to accomplish, and I think that to some people it's funny, it's interesting, it is what it is, but to me at least, it's tone it down a little bit. Like maybe calm down. It doesn't need to be that crazy and random.
Yeah, that's going past that line of you're too deep into it. Like you may know like a little bit too much about memes to an uncomfortable point. Because yes, it was interesting. Everyone's looking up Nutter Butter. I don't gotta buy one though. I was kind of scared to have a Nutter Butter. Like, is that gonna happen to me next? Nah, I'm good. You're bugging. No.
Emma or Danny, have you guys bought Nutter Butter?
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
So
me neither.
yeah.
I'm
Hey,
not
I'm
like
a
chronically on TikTok though.
Oh, I
I'm gonna
am,
keep
but
it a buck.
So glad
I'm
you
gonna keep it a
haven't
buck.
seen that.
Spare yourself. It's just a
It's
lot.
not
It's
worth
a
it.
lot.
Like
It's
it's not
not.
even worth it to like be curious and go look at what it's about because I made that mistake and I got caught up in it. Like it's
And your day will be ruined. Not because just
no, it'll be
continue. Go
ruined.
next question.
It'll be ruined.
All
Yeah,
right,
your
next
day's gonna be
question.
ruined.
So how important is newness in a snack choice? Are old favorites more often chosen, or are new flavors or brands easy to choose when wanting a snack? Do you always focus on flavors you're familiar with, maybe more nostalgic, or do you consistently kind of choose new flavors also?
It's both.
yeah.
It's duality. It's like, you know what I'm saying? I always got the classic favorites. I'm always love a good hot Cheeto. But what was it? My corner store just got these little Korean Lays, and it's like flavors I never had before, like crab dinner, seaweed. I'm like, oh, like this is interesting. So I was like, you know, it's a mix of both. I'm gonna always go home to what I know, it's nostalgia or whatever. But also like if you got a good flavor, put it out there.
Thanks, T. What about you, Emma?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like if I'm having a really bad day, I'm like, I don't want my snack to taste potentially bad, so I'm going to get the hot Cheetos. But if I'm feeling a little more adventurous, I'm a sucker for like the new flavors, like the interesting packaging. So I think it does depend on the day for me. Like if I'm just not in the mood, I'm not gonna try like a seaweed flavored chip. But if I'm feeling a little more adventurous, then I'm definitely gonna try something a little more out there and a little out of my comfort zone, or like in my comfort zone, just different than what I'm used to. Yeah.
What about you, Danny? Then we're gonna move to the next question.
I love like new flavors. But I also, I guess, yeah, if I'm in a rush and I don't have time to like really look at it and like decide, because the decision-making process of buying a new snack does take a little bit longer, I'll just go for something familiar. But if there's something with tahini on it and it's like tahini plus something else, like I'm down to try it because I love tahini. It's so limey and good. I love that flavor.
Nice. Thanks, Danny. So our next question is, how does the weather affect your snack choices? For example, I go on a lot of walks, and depending on if I plan to eat the snack right away, the weather will affect my choice and eating experience. So does weather affect what you guys choose to snack on?
Yeah, for sure. I live in LA. We had some record heats this summer. And you know what? I was like, I can't give me a little ice cream right now. You know what I'm saying? Cool myself down a little bit. Give me a nice cold drink. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. When it's rainy as well, for the same reason I also get ice cream, just 'cause, like I feel like I'm in a movie. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm from the LA area originally as well, so it's definitely like in the summer I'll have a bag of chips and like a drink. But because I'm in the UK right now, that does not sound appealing. It's cold, it's rainy, so I'm more of like a sweets person. Like I'll have like something like a little Debbie cake or something like that, and then like a warm cup of something. It's more like comfort versus like refreshing and like crunchy. Yeah.
Emma. So our next question is there value for a brand to speak in another generation's voice? Let's say Gen X, for example, even for something targeted to Gen Z.
Yeah, it has its appeal. I feel like if you're marketing towards, honestly, if you got like a little health brand and you want the parents to buy it for their kids as a better option, definitely, absolutely. Um, like Danny said, the Skills commercials, loved by all. Taste the rainbow. You could also just be broad with it and not be specifically trying to like cater to Gen Z. You could be broad and be yourself and come off easier that way.
Thanks, T.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of think like you don't need to cater to me because that makes me feel like a specimen or like some kind of animal in a zoo that you're like trying to, get to know. I'm literally a human being, so I think all human beings have like really, I think there's like so many shared experiences within the broad spectrum of the human experience that you don't need to like specifically cater to the fact that I'm Gen Z. Like my sense of humor does not revolve around being Gen Z, and I don't think my like interest really involve around being Gen Z that much because I don't think I think about being Gen Z like that often either. So, but if you're gonna sell me something, I want it to be like delightful, and I think that's pretty common with like any age group.
So what I'm hearing is, there's a lot of threads you can connect with that are emotional, that are shared by many generations, many experiences. It doesn't always have to just cater to Gen Z, but you still need to be authentic, be aware of what's going to connect with you guys emotionally, so that when you're saying something from a Gen X perspective, that it matters to you guys, right? I want to get to one more question before we close out. And the next question is, how do you guys feel about Oreo's approach on TikTok?
I haven't seen it.
Me
You haven't seen
neither. Haven't seen it.
I've seen it, and it's just like it's all like memes. It's like it's all TikTok trends. All of it is TikTok trends, but there's no people behind it. It's just Oreos. It'll be like one slide, and it's like rating my favorite parts of the Oreo, and then it's like the cream, 10 out of 10, the cookie, this that.
Oh.
And it's like it's fine, but it's like a little corny, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's the whole entire page.
Yeah, I've not seen Oreos, but I've seen people market their snacks and other food like just like that, where it's just like, nah, this is kind of robotic, bro. I'm not rocking with this.
Thanks, guys. We have time for one more question and we're going to close out. Sorry to any questions we didn't get to. So someone says, Lindsay says, I'm hearing a lot of connections to childhood in the examples shared. How important is messaging in nostalgia? How important is nostalgia for you guys? As our final question. And 2 people can answer and then we're going to close out.
Yeah, I feel like nostalgia is important. I because we're at that point. Josh mentioned it earlier. Cool math games being like back in our lives. We're at the point now where it's like we grew up on that, and now we're the new adults. So we're like, oh, I recall that. Let me go hit up the app for some reason. Same thing with like, oh, if one of your old commercials trends on TikTok or whatever item that was, bring it back immediately. A couple years ago, Starburst had that berries and cream flavor, and the way they capitalized was with like a Halloween costume. I would have loved to try the berries and cream flavor. I feel like people who enjoyed it back then would have also loved that as well. So yeah, if people talk about discontinued snacks all the time. There's a guy on TikTok harassing downloads to bring back their snack wrap every single day. We love nostalgia. And we're like, we want this back so badly, and you see it everywhere. But you're like, oh, complications with the factory and we don't care, bro. Make something shake. Make something shake. We'll give you the money. Just take that risk. Please. I beg you.
Cool. And I see people nodding their heads, so they're in agreement. Montan, are we closing out?
Yes, we are. That was so fun, you guys. And now I got to go eat stuff because you guys made me hungry. Thank you so much. Thanks for the audience for attending. We'll be sending the recording as well as the presentation notes out to everyone who registered. And stay tuned for next month's webinar on dining loyalty. And you all will get an invite. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Guys, thanks for joining.